Welcome back to the Capture Your Confidence podcast. We are back this week with a special guest. We have Keri Croft, who is a mom, entrepreneur, and overall badass.
Keri, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Keri does not, I imagine you weren't born with the title badass. How do we acquire such a title?
I think it's self-proclaimed. It's like anything else. You just kind of have to put a stake in the ground and then you have to walk the walk.
You know what I appreciate that is that reeks of confidence. And welcome to the Capture Your Confidence podcast, where she comes out of the gate and means it.
Swinging.
I do think it's a little bit self-proclaimed. We have conversations with women a lot about this like fake it till you make it concept. We have some polarizing thoughts on this, but I kind of want to hear your take on this as you lead with like a self-proclaimed title.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like the whole concept of faking it until you make it?
I actually love that question. And I have a very specific answer because Reagan Walsh, do you guys know Reagan Walsh?
Dear friend.
So when she came on the show, we had it came up and she was like, and what is up with that? How we're not faking anything. And it hit me. Because I've never been a big fake it till you make it person. But again, no one really does know what they're doing. So we're all kind of figuring it out. So if you want to call that faking it has a negative connotation that you're kind of like purporting or you're a poser. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, you're doing the thing. Yeah. If you're doing the thing. So there's no faking it. And if you ever feel like you're going to hit this pinnacle, like you're on the top of the mountain, you either need to do something else. You're always going to be figuring hopefully something out, some kind of part of the equation.
Yeah. I've always been of the mindset that like, you're not faking anything, you're embodying it. You're deciding to be it and you're being it. And so whether you want to pretend or not, like, I think the quicker you can realize that you're not pretending any longer is the quicker you'll arrive at whatever it is that you're trying to be.
Yeah. I think a big thing I notice about most humans is that we're all living in cages with the doors wide open. Like the door is completely open and we're all in a cage.
Yeah.
So
do you have a fly out moment? Like when you realized you were in the cage and you're just like, oh, screw this.
I'm one of those, I think, people who don't stay in the cage because I know life is really short and I'm the only person who's going to cheer for me. Like, other people will by the time you've made or done something, but you're like slow clap with an echo. You're doing this for a really long time. Okay. So if you can't be that for yourself, that's step 1, 2, and 3. Step 1, 2, and 3.
So let's roll back a little bit and hear a little bit about the story that is Keri Croft, the entrepreneur and the total badass.
Yeah.
So give us like the quick, version of how in the hell you got here.
Quick and dirty. Let me give you a couple of just, I think, milestones that I think created sort of the relentless, gritty person. I mean, first of all, it's in my DNA.
Yeah.
I come from, my dad is like Mr. Business, Mr. like, what he's thinking. Like, I get that honest. But I think for me, I come from a child of divorce that creates a fault line in you, and you can choose how you kind of move forward. It made me very resilient. It made me grow up pretty quick. And I took a lot of positives from that negative experience. And so I think that created a little bit of a fighter from the beginning. And then fast forward to my career, I really knew I wanted to be in sales. I knew I was going to be good in sales. And I worked at Roosters at the bar I went to Ohio State and I loved being there. And there were these guys that would come in at like 3 p.m. drinking Miller Lights and they'd drive up in BMWs and you know who you are. I'm like, I want to do what you're doing. And they're like, you can't do that. You have to go sell printers first. Xerox printers. I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, who do I need to talk to? Who's the director? So luckily I had a guy in there who was like, all right, you can talk to my director, but we'll see. And she gave me a shot, Jean Cesario. And she goes, you better step up to the plate, kid. So I leapfrogged that with my confidence. That's a fake it till you make it moment, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I knocked it out of the park. I loved it. And I just kept climbing the corporate ladder. I became a sales director at AT&T, had 2 cities, built teams. I think the contrast of me in corporate America was fun. A bunch of white males in suits. And then you got me and my pearls trying to screw with everybody. It was fun. And then I took the leap into entrepreneurship with my partner and built a fitness brand. So I have always loved a challenge and I've always just been ready for it.
And, it's so cool to hear you talk about this because I do think there has to be some level of like willingness to back yourself. And in that moment where you're watching Brad, Chad, and Thad talk to you about selling printers,
Right.
and they're trying to act like there's some gate, there's some actual barrier, when you knew yourself, if these clowns can do this, like I can make a way for myself to do this too. And walking into a room, advocating for yourself and saying, I know I can do this thing, even before you had the proof. There has to be that there if you are the kind of person who's pursuing some level of greatness in any way.
I definitely I was built with confidence for sure. So we all have skills we're born with, and we can all kind of look at ourselves and go, I have a propensity to be this way, or confidence has always been something that I had a good baseline on, but you have to continue to prove things to yourself. You have to challenge yourself and say, okay, Miss Confident, how are you going to step up to the plate and go?
Yeah. We always like to say it's a muscle that you have to continuously flex.
Definitely. But some people have a harder time. And if someone's out there listening and confidence is something that you strive for, and you really, you beat yourself up and you kind of feel like you're in this gerbil wheel looking at others and wishing, it is a muscle you can build. Even if you weren't born with confident DNA, let's say you're very shy and you're unsure of yourself. If you can take steps and exercises and visualizations and focus on like, okay, this is my thing for the next 6 months. I'm going to try to build my confidence. There are things you can do, but sitting there stewing over it, woe is me and kicking rocks isn't going to do anything.
Yeah. The other thing I love about your story, and this has also been a consistent thread, is you had a woman take a chance on you and give you an opportunity.
Yeah, Jean Cesario. I hope somebody out there. I'll send it to Jean. She's awesome.
Thank you, Jean, if you're listening. Okay, so we have the fitness brand, and then what are we doing
right now?
Yeah. Then what?
So I built the fitness brand for 10 years, and I recently sold my interest, and so now I am doing the Keri Croft Show full time, but I'm also building some things along the way that aren't 100% done yet. But one thing that I just launched is my surrogacy workshop. So, if you don't know my story, you can go to the Keri Croft Show and listen to my infertility journey, but had over a decade of really hard child loss and infertility, and ended up getting a surrogate. My business brain kicked in when it was time to look for the surrogate. I'm like, what's happening here with the agency model? Agencies aren't bad, but I think there's other paths you can take. So I ended up peeling back the model and figuring out how to get a surrogate, my dream surrogate, on my own. And I'm like, why don't I do this kind of tutorial A to Z for other people who feel like it's so out of reach? It's not just for Kim Kardashian. It's not just for Paris Hilton. It's not something you have to take a second mortgage out on your home for. You're going through enough when you're in that spot to look for a surrogate that the financial component can oftentimes be sort of the thing that just is like, okay, lights out. This isn't something we can have. And so I want the average person to feel like, oh, me too, I can have this. Yeah. So I have that. You can find that at kericroft.com. And I'm also doing some business consulting. It's, total badass, but it's mindset meets business. And so a lot of the stuff we're talking about, because I feel like if you're trying to build a business and you're over here mentally and you're kind of in a puddle, in order to set yourself up to be able to leverage, it's tough out there. So we focus on the internal stuff as well, not just like, okay, what's your P&L? How many people out there, you get a business consultant, it's like, what's your 5-year plan? It's like, okay, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
So we take a step back. We look at where you're at as an individual, and then we look at what you're trying to do from a business perspective and sort of create this marriage between the two. I'm so excited about it.
I'm excited for you. And I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I think anytime you ever start to go and accomplish a goal, if you don't have the mental infrastructure set in place to be able to reinforce when it gets hard, you're fighting an uphill battle. I want to talk about this whole surrogacy thing and infertility and the role that played on your confidence as you were going through that really hard decade.
It's a good question. I think, reinforced how strong I can be. I think it reinforced how much I will go with my gut and my inner guide as opposed to what I feel like other people will say or think. And that's a very, very, very hard thing for people to do. Just like I just told you guys, we ended up getting an egg donor, which is, oh my God, an egg donor and a surrogate. What the fuck? I mean, this is crazy. And especially when you talk to people in a different generation, which I understand, like y'all haven't had the software updates, you don't have the experience. But to to be able to quietly, because I was very, very private, to walk that journey without reinforcement from others, without question. I mean, of course you question, but to make those choices and really go deep into your intuition, that is confidence, it's strength, it's resilience, it's grit, and it's relentless pursuit of your dreams. Because at the end of the day, I don't care, like, and this may sound whatever, I don't care how close you are with people, your support system, your family, they're all so important. But you can get away from any of them at any given time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't get away from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find in our society is this importance and emphasis on what do they think and how are they going to cancel me? And how am I going to be perceived here? And what I will tell you is how you're perceived internally is going to drive the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you don't figure that part out and get really right with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you're just grasping at straws. Because guess what? Tina over here thinks something different than Becky over here,
Mm-hmm.
than this person over here. They all think different shit. So if you don't have like a very solid system inside of how you feel about you, you're swinging from every vine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It reminds me so much. We have a confidence formula that we talk about. That's positive self-talk and action and repetition. And we focus a lot on that positive self-talk piece because you can have all the action in the world and continue to do it. But if that inner voice is not coming correct, right?
Mhm.
It's not going to take you anywhere. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
true. But you also have to start showing up for yourself. And this is not rocket science.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use an example. So you and I are going to coffee, right? I'm going to meet you at Stoss at 8 a.m. Cool. So excited. So I get my outfit on, I take a shower, which I rarely do. I'm ready. I'm sitting there and I've got my agenda and I am pumped. And I put thought, time, and energy into our space together.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't show up. What do I think about you? You're a flake. You're not reliable. You're not dependable. You're B
Yeah.
player
Mhm.
on a good day.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you say to yourself, okay, self, we're going to get up at 5 a.m. and work out, or we're not going to drink wine every single night, or whatever these like little things are, we know these mental games we're playing with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't show up and do that thing for ourselves one time during the week. What are you going to think about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You're a flake. You're a B player. Boo. So you have to take those actions for yourself and start to build the respect for yourself first.
Yeah. And keep the promises.
Yes,
that
keep
we
the
are
freaking
making,
promises.
right?
I'm really interested in how this shows up for you in action. Like if there's something that you want, but you find yourself having a harder time following through, like, are you just reminding yourself like not to be a B player for yourself? Like what's the mental narrative does that sound like for you when you're trying to like, I'm cementing this new habit, I'm becoming this new person, I'm doing this thing?
So right now, here's what I do. You want this details?
I do.
Okay, so I have a garage that I have all my workout stuff in. It's like my sanctuary. And I have a sauna in the corner. And so I work out and then I take a 15 to 20 minute sauna.
Mm-hmm.
When I go in the sauna, it's like this half meditation, half like fight for your life because it's so fucking hot.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this vertical piece of wood in the middle and I'm just sitting there staring. And so I have these 4 people are going to think I'm batshit crazy, but this is really what
We
I do.
love
Yeah.
it.
Batshit crazy. I have 4 imaginary squares. And the first square is MF. Not for motherfucker. Get your heads out. It's me first.
Yeah.
So I have, and my focus is on that square. I can see it. There's an M and an F. I'm a big acronym girl.
Mm-hmm.
AT&T, corporate market did it to me. And so I asked myself, what is important to me in this particular realm? It's a huge pillar, right? So what is important to me? Getting up and working out, because we're not doing it if we say we're going to do it at noon, 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge one for me. Just get up and get it done. Do the sauna. Alcohol intake, let's lower to no go.
Lower to nowhere.
Lower to nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that there's like probably 7 to 10 things in there. And those things can change any given time. But you sit with them, you think about them. How am I doing here? How many times did I get up? Did I drink? Not that drinking is bad. I'm just saying that if there's any habit you're doing too often that it's taking up mental space for you, you may need to adjust a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So then after me first is fam and fram.
Mm-hmm.
So like your core.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I showing up for the kids, for my husband, this very like core, who are my core? Who are the toxic people? Who, like who are the real ones, and how can I continue to invest in them and make sure that I am prioritizing that shit? Is it, what family traditions or, details or all of that. So the third one is dreams to reality, which is all your business stuff. So where are you from a business perspective? That one I can spend too much time in. So I have to let myself out of there. And then the fourth one is improving the atmosphere. So for me, it's very important that whatever I do from a business perspective at this point aligns with how am I helping serve something. So whether it's infertility, mental health awareness, lemonade stands with the kids that help raise money for X, Y, and Z. How is the business side aligning with those things that are going to create a legacy and memories for Dane and Kyle and help the community in whatever way? So I have those 4 dials, and I try to make myself not think about anything else. Zoom in on that and then zoom out everything else and just kind of take that with me throughout the day, because how many of us let those thoughts creep in? Like, what's this person thinking? Or I really probably hurt that person's feelings, or this didn't go well. All this stuff we're spending time on is like, it's taking away from like the actual productivity and moving forward.
Yeah. What I love about this is that it's intentional. And it's something that's learnable and teachable, because I think a lot of times people listen and they say, oh, that's not me, or she was born with it. But you're literally spending time every single day with a plan and a roadmap and doing the thing all the time to reinforce the mentality.
Yes. And I want to say this because I don't want people to think that, I would love for you to think this, but I'm not this like type A, oh, I'm super organized. I'm like, I have this like thing. I have to really fight and work to keep myself this way. That's why I'm doing these things, because I really feel like I can go off in a million different directions. So it is something I have to continue to make myself do. It's all a matter of creating it and just sticking to it.
Yeah. How do you find that your ease to stick to the plan gets whenever you're reinforcing the frequency? So like, obviously starting the new thing is really hard, but like now, does it feel like second nature to you because you've been running the drills?
No. So getting up in the morning sucks to work out. And I struggle with that big time. But what keeps you motivated and moving forward is when you start to feel things. So when you start to feel strong, like my big thing right now is strength training, pull up, like really being strong. When you feel that in your body, you're like, wait, this is working. Like I can see it. I can feel it. That's what keeps you. It still sucks. Every single morning, it sucks. But for me, absolutely. I love sleep. I love sleeping in. So getting up is a grind. I think it's more, what are the options, right? Like if you don't do it, then you feel like shit the rest of the day. And you have this like dialogue, you dumbass, you didn't get up. What's wrong with you? I'm going to work out. Like, no, you're not. Just do it and get it done. So I think the more organized you are with those thoughts, it's really the fruits of your labor that keep you moving. It doesn't necessarily get easier or more fun. It's like, but
yeah. No, what an honest answer. And I think that people would not think that, right?
You
come from the fitness industry, you built this thing, it's this in your DNA.
Yeah, no.
And you're like, no, I also don't like to wake up, but I still show up.
Nope. I'm a mess over here.
But I think that's so important for people to hear, right? Like, it's not as if you're on this pedestal preaching all of these pillars that come totally naturally to you that are so hard for others. Like you're owning the fact that this is really hard for me to do, but I do it because I know it makes a difference for me.
Yep.
I do it because I know it's helping me become the person that I really want to be. And so I'm willing to endure the discomfort of that so that I can hold myself to my potential.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. It's not easy.
No. So, you spend your time working with other people to help them build their mental fortitude, build their businesses. You're doing all of these initiatives. Like, do you ever find that there's a time in your order? I'm thinking about your 4 boxes. Do you ever find that your business box tries to creep up above your fam box?
Every second of every day.
How do you manage that as a person who resonates deeply?
My husband, like it or not, he'll come for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, he knows
you
me.
out.
He knows me. He knows me. Like there are things, I don't know why I'm built this way. Like sometimes it's torturous. I'll be honest. The business thing, the the mind always like, I'm like, why am I this way? And I even said to him, I don't know when it was, maybe a month ago, I'm like, sometimes I wish I was built to be like a stay-at-home mom. My sister Haley, she's a stay-at-home mom, and I look at her and she works her ass off. It's a grind. But I'm like, God, wouldn't it be nice to like, I don't know, just not think about these things because you're like trading it. But in her mind, she's like, this shit, you don't want none of this. My mind is a constant, it's always on and it's exhausting. And if he sees me in the kitchen, I'm doing dishes. He's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, motherfucker, because I was moving my lips, and I was in a dead conversation. I'm always visualizing and rehearsing. And so that happens a lot. And then he'll be like, Keri, are you with us? Like, you're here, but are you here? And I think a lot of people, and I'm going to call myself out first, is you're there, but are you there? And that's my big thing with the kids and with family, is not just like, okay, I'm here now. I said I'd be here at 1:30. I really need to be here and dialed in.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for how much we fought to have this family. It's like, come on. So yes, I have to constantly remind myself that like, it's just business. Why is that so all encompassing?
Yeah. But I think a lot of people can relate to that, because if you are an entrepreneur and you are a hustler and you are trying to improve processes and efficiency, right? You're always thinking, how can we do this better? How can we help? And it truly comes from a positive place. Like, there's good intention there, but it is very easy for it to take over.
My therapist calls it my monster, my business monster, and she is hungry. She's hungry.
Yeah.
But you do have to put a bridle on her,
too much of anything is not a good thing. Whether it's, I think we did a personality test a couple years ago in my old company. And this will surprise you, but the first word for me was command. And it's like, command. It's one of those things where you think about it and you're like, should I be proud of that? Or should I be like, what is that? And I think plug in whatever word for yourself, but command is a really great characteristic until it's not. So it's like with your ego, right? As long as you're aware of it and you can soften it and be like, okay, I know I'm a freight train here. I know I'm a very commanding personality and I can drive the shit out of stuff, but how can I sort of step back, make sure I'm hearing what other people are saying, not just taking action, questioning myself several times, is this the right way or should we do it this way? So being very aware of your strengths and weaknesses, very important.
Yeah. I mean, I think any strength, any trait that we have is a double-edged sword, right? I mean, what you said about it being great until it's not, that's anything that we do. And I will tell you, I've been like such a black and white thinker for most of my life and working really hard to live in this middle, like gray area and to like introduce the concept of moderation in all things. Like, that is so hard for people who've been like factory set to good, bad, all, nothing, right? How do you work on that in your own journey?
I don't know. I think the older you get, you're like, none of this is that serious. The only thing that I had it's the other day I went in for a mammogram, and, every time I go in for a mammogram, it's like they send you the letter and you're good. And so this last time they sent the letter and they said, we need you to come back. So I went back and I had myself
in a tizzy.
Like, I won't bore you with the details, but like by the time I got into that exam room, I was convinced that like something was really wrong with me. I was shaking. The doctor came in to tell me I was fine. I got up. I was bawling. My hands were, I had myself into a spot that I think it was probably a good thing. I left there and I was like, you need to remember
perspective,
the way you felt, because none of this shit matters. There are people in that room that get really different news, and, you don't know. None of us know. And so at this point, I really try to check myself. It's like, okay, who gives a shit? Really, at the end of the day, if your kids are healthy and you're healthy and you have another day, you can live another day and like do shit with them. It's not really that important. You're not really that important. None of us.
And doesn't it put in perspective too, whenever you're thinking about the things you were worried about earlier about what Sally was going to think about you or what Tiffany said, whatever. And then you think about all of those things and how quickly that becomes absolutely irrelevant. It's like it drives so much of people's behavior and so much of their mental processing when really it means nothing.
Yeah. The more you climb and the more you're true to yourself and the more you realize success, the more people aren't going to like you, certain people.
Yeah.
And so Tina, Sally, Nancy, all y'all, I like to me, I'm like, I just do my best. I try to follow my guide, and the people who are supposed to be in your circle will be in your circle. We put way too much emphasis and expectations on the masses, and most people are going to disappoint you. Sorry to be the bearer of bad
we talk
news.
a lot about the tribe and the 5 most people around you the most and paying the most attention to that. Okay, so you're a busy working mama. What are your hacks?
Great childcare. My husband is like, there are no words. I mean, he does the laundry. He buys the clothes. I mean, he crosses all the T's and dots all. I would say Brady's my hack.
Get you a good man.
Truly, he's
woman.
my hack. I would not be able to keep it all together without him.
Yeah,
I'm flying around. He's holding my balloon, my string.
We have lots of conversations, Stephanie and I, because we have very great partners. That will go into rooms where women are having very different conversations about their partners. And we immediately just like backwards walk out of the room because I just can't even, I have nothing positive that they need to hear to say about that circumstance,
Well, you know what I think we all need to do? I think you just need to take inventory. So if you're in a relationship that feels, because I've been very open about our marriage struggles with infertility and everything. I am an open book. But I think where people, and men specifically, in a heterosexual relationship, where you sort of need to take your lens and maybe move it over a little bit, the traditional way of being married, it still exists, right? So if you're a man and you're working I was going to say working your dick off. You guys, like, Keri, watch your language. And like, let's say the wife is stay at home and she's the CEO of the house. So that's her job to run the home, right? Great. But if you're both working full time and the home still needs to be tended to, that model no longer works. It's called 50-50. So I think sometimes men still have this sort of vision of the way it's supposed to be. But if the wife is working full time, you can't and cook and clean and laundry and you have to take half of that. So I think it's just a matter of maybe some therapy, looking inward, what's working, what's not. Get a whiteboard. I just think, with business, we go into a room, we have a whiteboard, we create values, mission, alignment, strategy, objective, but then with our life, that is infinitely more important. We just wing it. So have you ever thought about just sitting at a table with your partner and being like, look, I love you. I'm so glad we chose each other, but I'm feeling some things. Here's a whiteboard. Let's do some pros and cons. Let's look and see, let's actually put a line in the middle and put your name and my name. Let's put the chores that fall on, let's visualize how lopsided the shit is or whatever you need to do. And I think stuff like that's unexpected and is really gets into the nitty gritty will only bring you closer.
For sure.
But create your values, create your structure that's going to be more balanced for you.
Stephanie and I we talk about this all the time that I just have to ask for what I need because poor homeboy can't read my mind. And he'll do anything that I need done. I have to ask for what I need. And what is it about women that have such a hard time saying, I need your help with this thing? You know what it is? It's the Cinderella books. It's the fairy tale we've been fed. Because guess what? The prince with the shoe, he read her mind. He read her mind. He knew that shoe size. He knew her style. So why the fuck wouldn't we think you'd read our mind, right? So in reality, though, and it's more romantic, right? To feel like the man is going to come on, man, I love you, but you're not operating like that. So I agree with you. Communicate. Early and often. Early and often.
Yeah. And I think too, we have to also make another plug for therapy. I know you mentioned it. We talk about it often.
All the time.
has that played a part in your journey?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So therapy. Oh my God. My therapist, Christine Paisley, she's actually in this little blue house in Grandview on 3rd. She is a dream. And she has taught me so much about toxicity, toxic families, toxic relationships, how to, she's given me tools and exercises. And Brady and I have been to therapy together. Therapy, I just feel like I wish people would see it more as like a beneficial exercise that's a proactive thing that you're investing in the health of your relationship with yourself or your other. So for whatever reason, the stigma is just so strong around it. But I have such respect for people who do the work on themselves and collectively.
Mm-hmm.
It will never be a bad idea.
Yeah. And I think it's important for listeners to hear that that's part of the journey. And lots of the people that you admire, I promise you, they're working on it.
Yeah, they're working actively on it.
Talking to someone and working on it.
Yes.
Because the thing that floors me is how much we don't want to hear about ourselves.
But we want to talk about ourselves now.
Well, right. So don't you want to know if there's something that you're doing? You don't really want to know, reflexively, because it's it stings. But don't you really, as a mature, evolved human, if you're doing something and it's a common denominator that feeds into some negativity and you're not even seeing it, if someone could just politely be like, you know what, Keri, you're fucking dismissive as hell and you're condescending and you make me feel less than. Whew. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm an asshole. But then you're aware of it and you can see it and go, oh man, how do I don't know thyself. And it's hard for any of us, right? I mean, none of us see ourselves the way other people do. And that's the scary part about life.
Literally just last night, Stephanie looked me in the eye about something. And she's like, so you actively decided to not do the thing that we just talked about, how you were going to do. And I'm like, you're right. I absolutely actively did decide to renegotiate on a boundary that I literally just set. And if you don't have people in your life that are not willing to lovingly hold your feet to the fire and remind you, hey, you said this thing, and I wouldn't be your friend if I didn't remind you that you said this thing. And however you want to respond to it, I love you no matter what to say, but I am going to remind you that just last week we talked about this thing.
Yeah.
You need that, whether it's your therapist or friends or whatever.
Yeah, but it's a lost art. And I was just talking to Lisa Hinkleman. She's this badass. You guys know her? So she was just on the show and I love everything she's doing with rocks. And we got into this conversation about having direct conversations. And I just don't know a lot of people anymore who can do it.
The lost art.
It really is. It's like you want to say something? Well, then you're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting. A lot of the coaching and speaking that I do, it used to be a lot on networking and relationship building, and it has transitioned into having difficult conversations. And what we're labeling as difficult conversations, right, is talking to a colleague or talking to someone on your team about a performance issue or something that shouldn't be so dramatic, but we just don't have this culture of communication. And so these conversations become so dramatic because they're once a year at your review and then we never talk about it again.
Yeah. I guess I'm just super curious because I know that the narrative I've created isn't 100% correct. And so I'm curious to know what you're thinking because the quicker I know, I can make those connections and go, oh, shit, that makes, and then we can move on together. I don't know. I mean, it's a little awkward and uncomfortable when you can get to the other side of it and truly lead with curiosity. Like, hey, I don't know. I'm feeling this and I don't really know why. I know I'm feeling an energy and I trust myself and my experience and who I am enough to know something's here. But can you fill in the blanks and let's talk about it and move forward? I don't know.
Yeah.
That feels pretty healthy to me.
But people make up such a big cataclysmic way the conversation is going to go before they have it, that they talk themselves out of the conversation entirely. And it's never as bad as what you think it's going to be.
Yeah. Or they don't want to disrupt their own narrative about themselves and what, and if that's the case, there's no way you can win.
Yeah.
There's no way you can win.
So
this conversation.
I know, it's so good. So I want to know where the people can find you, what's coming up for you, all the good stuff.
You can find me at kericroft.com. You can find me at the Keri Croft Show. Like I said, I just launched a surrogacy workshop. I tell people all the time, if you hear of anyone going through infertility or looking for a surrogate, please send them to me, whether it's just a 5-minute pep talk, whether I can hand them a resource, an attorney, whatever. I am here to serve in that space. If you're looking for some business consulting, you can DM me, you can email me. There's so many, Keri at thekeriCroftShow.com. Otherwise, I love when people just kind of like slide my DMs and just say, hey, I love it. It's like Christmas morning when I see that little notification. I'm like, ooh, it goes down in the DM.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your perspective.
Yeah.
I think it was probably the drink of confidence that everyone needed to have today. So
thanks, ladies. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. And we'll talk to you guys next week.